Hello, good afternoon. My name is Yousaf Malik, and today I'm going to be teaching you simultaneous equations and how to solve them. So we're going to do a session on how to solve linear simultaneous equations, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples, slightly different examples, and I'm going to teach you how to solve them. So the first question I'd like to ask is, what is a simultaneous equation? Well, a simultaneous equation are two equations put together, and you have to solve them at the same time. And normally, what you have is you have two variables in those two equations, and as you can see in this case, we have an x and we have a y in both, and we have to solve what x is and what y is. Okay, now we have an equation here. It says 8x plus 3y equals 57, and 6x plus 3y equals 51. And so, how do we solve this equation? Well, the first thing you do is you have to label the equations. So I'm going to label the top one 2, and the bottom one, so the top one 1, and the bottom one 2. And now you have to ask yourself, well, in both these equations, can you see any similarity? So which variables are the same in both equations? Or what do we have the same lot of? Which coefficients are the same in both equations? Okay, and as you can see, with the x's, they're not the same because we have 8x in one and 6x in the other. However, in the second variable, the y's, the coefficients are the same. So the 3 is the same in the top one as is the bottom one. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the process of elimination. So we're going to eliminate those y's because they're the same. And how do we eliminate them? How do we eliminate two positive y's? Well, we can minus those two y's, those three y, those 2, 3 y's. So if we subtract those three y's from each other, 3y minus 3y is 0. So we're able to get rid of that. However, if we subtracted one part of the equations, we have to subtract everything else. So 57 minus 51 and 8x minus 6x. So 8x minus 6x is 2x, and 57 minus 51 is 6. And so 2x equals 6, and so x equals 3. Okay, so that's that. So how do we now find out what the y is? Well, for example, what we could do is we could pick one of the equations at the top, either the first one or the second one. It doesn't matter which one because you'll get the same answer anyway. So I'm going to pick the second equation randomly. So let's write that second equation down. 6x plus 3y equals 51. And so what we do now is that we can now use the process of substitution. So substitution means that if x equals 3, okay, we can swap that x for that x there. We can swap that 3 for that x there because x equals 3. So now we can substitute that. So 6 bracket, I'm going to use a different color, 3 plus 3y equals 51. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 3y equals 51. If you minus 18 from both sides, 3y equals 33, and so y equals 11. And so that will be your answer. Y equals 11, and x equals 3. As you can see, we found out the answer to those two variables. Okay. So I'm going to now use a different example. And the next example I will use is slightly different. And I want you to identify what is different about these two equations. So 9x plus 4y equals 82, and 3x minus 4y equals minus 10. So again, the first thing we do with any simultaneous equation is we label the first one 1 and the second one 2 to make it very easy for the examiner in the exam to understand. Now, if I ask you a question, what is the same in these two equations relative to the last one, and what is different? Well, what is the same is, as you can see, we have two coefficients that are the same. However, as you can see, the signs are different this time. The signs are different. So, well, you may ask, well, what's the difference? What difference does that make? Well, if you were to try and eliminate these two y's from each other, before we minus them. So if we go ahead and minus these two y's from each other, we get 4y minus negative 4y. And as you can see, two negatives makes a positive, so 4y plus 4y ends up making 8y. And that is not eliminating those y's. So in this case, where you have different signs, so plus and a minus, we are actually able to plus these two y's to eliminate them. So 4y plus negative 4y actually gives you 0, because these two, a plus and a minus makes a negative, so 4y minus 4y is 0. Okay, so we're now able to get rid of these two y's by, I'm going to do it in a different colour, by actually adding them. So again, if you add them, you get 0, but again, this time you have to add everything in both equations. So add and add. So 9x plus 3x is 12x equals 82 plus negative 10 is 72. So 12x equals 72. So x must equal 6. And so again, we can pick one of the equations. So this time I'm going to choose the second equation. I'm going to do it in a different colour. So let's write out that second equation. 3x minus 4y equals negative 10. And so we can substitute it. So we can substitute that x for the 6. And we're left with 3. Substituting that 6 for y equals negative 10. 6 times 3 is 18, minus 4y equals negative 10. If you minus 18 from both sides, you get minus 4y, minus 10 minus 18 is minus 28. And so y must equal 7. Because if you divide minus 4 by both sides, you get 7. And so your answer would be y equals 7 and x equals 6.